everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today to hear about the 7 keys to enrollment recovery, brought to you by Procare Solutions, which is the leader in childcare management software for more than 30 years, and of course, ChildcareCRM, which is the leader in care-focused customer relationship management and marketing systems. So who am I? I'm Francie Dudry. I am the Director of Content, Events, and Brand for Procare, and I am just thrilled to have you all here with us today. And why are we here today? Well, we're here to talk about how to position your center for success by giving you some helpful guidance on how you can better manage the entire customer lifecycle, from lead to enrollment to, of course, the in-center experience. We'll also share trends from ChildcareCRM's exclusive industry benchmarks that are helping shape the future of enrollment. And of course, in today's environment, it's super important to talk about the safety and security of children and staff. So we will cover ways to leverage childcare management software to limit in-person interactions. But of course, before we jump into this webinar, a few housekeeping items. First, it's important to know that we will be providing a recording and the slides once the webinar is over. Expect to see something in your inboxes, I would say within the next 24 hours or so. We will set aside some time at the end for questions. And then everyone's in listen-only mode, and they will continue to be in listen-only mode. If you're having problems with your audio, which, hello, everybody is on the internet these days, so that's bound to happen, my recommendation is to make sure you exit out of all your other software on your device. That should help. And if you're still having issues, we will chat out a link to GoToWebinar's support, so you can check in with them and see if you can fix those issues. All right. Without further ado, let's get started. I am going to introduce you to the two folks who have their pulse on how technology is reshaping the childcare industry for the better. So first up, we have Matt Amoia, who is the CEO of ChildcareCRM. He joining ChildcareCRM as CEO in 2019. Matt brings over 20 years of combined experience in the childcare and software industries. Matt's family has owned and operated childcare centers for nearly 3 decades, which is a really long time. Most recently, Matt was Chief Customer Officer, helping to scale a SaaS solution through 3 successful equity cycles, while also building teams known for world-class customer support and an inspirational culture. As CEO at ChildcareCRM, Matt is responsible for guiding the company through its next phase of growth, while benefiting its customers, partners, employees, and ultimately powering the childcare industry. And then, of course, we have my boss and all-around fabulous lady, Michelle Burrows, CMO of Procare Solutions. In her role as Chief Marketing Officer, Michelle drives strategy, brand awareness, demand generation, and most importantly, delivering outstanding customer experiences, or perhaps being my boss, but we won't go into that. Michelle has spent over 20 years in the software space, from small startups to Fortune 50 organizations, and has a deep knowledge of how businesses can leverage software to thrive in an ever-changing environment, much like what we're experiencing today. Before Procare, she led marketing as the CMO of Serenova, which was a cloud-based contact center solution. And she also served as vice president of marketing and analytics at Comcast Business, while also leading the customer loyalty contact center. So these two have big resumes. They've got a ton of knowledge, and we are excited to have them share their knowledge with you. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Matt.
Awesome. Wow. That was quite the intro. Hoping we can live up to that. I'm just hoping the Wi-Fi is good throughout the whole presentation. That's all I want right now. But super happy to be joined by Francie and Michelle. Very lovely and way more talented than I, both of them. But we're gonna have fun today, and we're gonna talk a little bit about the stuff we're gonna cover. You know, it's been a wild first half of 2020, and we got together and said, hey, we think it's a great time after everything that's gone on. We think about all those folks, and prayers about to those that are directly or indirectly impacted by everything that's gone on the first half of the year. And we said, how can we help? And what are the things we could talk about together? And at the same time, announce an exciting new partnership that we'll get to later. So a little bit about what we'll cover today. Really think about it broken up into 3 sections. One, what are the trends that are shaping what I would call the pre-enrollment phase? So from the minute a parent starts to shop for care and perhaps inquire with you as a center, what are the keys to making sure that experience is great and they ultimately convert into an enrollment? And then after that, once they're enrolled, let's talk about the post-enrollment phase. And Michelle's going to go through some keys to keeping your center successful and setting up for success, especially in the post-COVID world, like Francie alluded to. And then at the end, we'll kind of pull it all together and spend some time talking about, our background being really heavy in software, and this idea that you have to use a stack of software to manage your business. And so how do you analyze that and evaluate what are the best pieces to put together and make sure they integrate and work seamlessly for you and put them to work for you so that you can focus on your business. And so I think we got some great stuff to cover today. So with that, we're going to dive in. So we're going to start to think about the very, very beginning steps to getting a family enrolled in your center, right? And it's all about preparing yourself with that digital presence online. And so these days it's less about having a website. Maybe back in the day that was a competitive advantage, and these days obviously it's kind of table stakes. But now it's about optimizing the website so that you make sure when you draw people to it, you convert, right? And so it's things like having your contact us forms or your inquiry forms, what they call above the fold. So right at your first page on your website and upper right corner, so people don't have to scroll or hunt for it. Having those hooked into a platform like a CRM, so you're capturing all that information and not losing anything and being able to act on it, which we'll talk about in a sec. And then also any self-help tools or self-service tools that you can add to the website to cut down on the steps needed to get a parent from shopping mode to tour mode or engagement mode with your center. And so you're going to notice throughout this presentation, we've kind of layered in, to Francie's point, some of our benchmark stats. We do a study every year. I've been in the space for over 10 years and really use that data every year to put out the leading industry benchmark report to say, like, hey, across 4,000 centers in 5 countries, these are the trends we're seeing when it comes to driving enrollment in childcare centers. And no shock, right? Consistently year over year, the amount of inquiries that come in online versus in person or over the phone is going up, right? And that number is 60% end of last year. I mean, it's going to be 100% before you know it, right? And things like what we see in first half of this year is really accelerating that. But even more so, once they get there, if you're doing things like, for instance, we see such high demand with a self-scheduling tour feature we have where parents can not only go on and let's skip the inquiry step and the back and forth. I already know I want to come visit your center, whether it be in person or virtually. Let me do that, right? And so allowing parents to schedule those self-scheduled tours on your site, pick the day and the time. Of course, the center has all the capability to schedule the windows they want and make sure that people can only select times that are available and they want to be able to do the tours. But increases your win rate by 17%, right? And we've seen this across all of our customer base across the world. So those are very powerful in optimizing the website, right? So once you have it optimized to generate leads and get them in the door, next step is how to engage them, right? So I'll click forward to the next one here, and really it's having a plan, right? And of course, everyone would say, well, I got a plan. I write it down on my sticky notes, or I've got this pad of paper that I write down everyone who comes in, whether it's online or on the phone. But we're talking about more than that, right? We're talking about leveraging technology to automate all of those processes, right? So the number one reason that we see enrollment, you lose an enrollment is just the lack of follow-up. And more so, not just like the one call or the two call, but there's a best practice in the sales and marketing world around engaging 7 times. And it's the magic number, right? Studies have shown that if you engage a prospect 7 times, they're way more likely to convert than if you do less than that, right? And I know everyone thinks, well, 7 times is a lot of times to engage one person, and I don't have the time, frankly, right? We all got in this business most of the time for the children and our passion and what we love to do, and not necessarily some of this behind the scenes stuff. And so we talk about if you can put a system in place to do it for you, your likelihood of increasing enrollment and winning it goes up by over 20%, right? And again, we see this across all of these centers that have been on our platform for a while. And it's really about saying, we start at the very beginning and say, okay, if I'm a center and someone inquires on my website, what do I want to happen? And you say, well, I would love it if they got a text within 15 seconds that says, hey, we just got your inquiry, stand by, we're going to call you, right? Or maybe I want an email to go out that let them know we'll contact them in the next 24 hours. And then we would hear, well, my center director is so busy doing a lot of things. The real problem is they don't follow up once someone's inquired, right? And so we can say, all right, well, then let's set a task and put a task on their calendar to alert them within an hour. So if they haven't contacted that lead within an hour, buzzers go off to say, hey, you're falling behind, right? And then maybe depending on how that person reacts, the prospect reacts, if they open your email, or if we do get them on the phone and get them scheduled for a tour, you can build in some workflows. You say, okay, then if that's the case, I want them to get an email the next day to confirm the tour. If they don't respond, I want them to get an email within 5 hours saying, hey, we're still looking to hear from you. It's those kind of things to really supercharge the number of times you engage a prospective family around enrollment, and putting a tool to work to do that, right, is where we've seen so much power, and it's been a real key to ramping up your enrollment. And then once you get them to that enrollment step, we've also seen, especially nowadays, a huge amount of interest in contactless registration, right? Saying like, okay, a family has decided to move forward with our center, and we have a largely paper-based, very manual process to enroll someone in our center, and we've had lots of interest around our product that digitizes the enrollment packet, right? That says like, okay, I can just send a parent a link. They can go in and fill out all the paperwork. All the information we have on them is pre-populated throughout every form, so it's not manually refilling the same information over and over and over again. And then if anything needs to get updated in the future, it's all housed safely and can be accessed by the parent to update. Center just gets a notification, right? So taking the in-person paper manual step out of the mix has been a big demand we're seeing, and really a key to success if you think about it going forward. I know Michelle's going to spend some time talking about this contactless environment and how to set your center up for success in that regard. And we're seeing that even pre-enrollment, right? That last step before it turns to post-enrollment phase, we're seeing that being super popular and a key to success going forward. And then the third one, I would say, just to complement all of that, the seven engagement points and the back and forth with prospects, is just making sure you have a tool that can centralize all of the communication, right? And so another challenge that typically happens is, it's communication is dispersed across multiple people in your organization. Maybe yourself gets involved at some point, or the center director's running point. Someone's out sick, someone else fills in. And what that ends up happening is you lose the history with that contact and the communication back and forth, and it's really hard to get caught up, right? And so again, seeing a big demand for systems that say, hey, I want to send emails and texts and correspond, but I want it to be through this tool I'm using or this platform I'm using to capture that string of communication. And I can always go back in and it's time stamped and audited, and I know who responded to what. And then I can leverage that to run some more communication and marketing drip campaigns, right? I can say, okay, they responded to this email, so now I'm going to send them this text as a follow-up, and have it all built into the system with some automated workflows that takes the guesswork out of it for a center and all the manual work. And that's when you tread into the win-back campaign area and people who have maybe left the center during this first half of the year, and not being naive and crossing your fingers and just hoping they're going to come back, right? You got to actively go out and win the business back. And also another big one is the virtual tours. We're seeing a huge trend in people saying, okay, that same tool I need to be able to communicate about my virtual tour availability and conduct them that way. So some of the big keys and trends we're seeing in the pre-enrollment phase. And then once we get to an enrolled family who's happy and coming into the school, Michelle was going to talk to us a little bit about setting up your center for success after that.
Thanks so much, Matt. And I would echo what you said about the introduction that Francie gave us. I hope we can live up to it. It's probably the nicest intro I've ever gotten ever. So now you have, and I also discovered how touchy the slides were because I just put my mouse and I was like, oh, wasn't trying to
okay.
to make you end early, so apologies. So Matt walked through a lot of really solid first steps of how do you get families to enroll. And so what I'm going to take you through now is you now have families, you have children in your care. So how can you make sure that that those relationships are as successful as they can be? So let me just go to the next slide. Okay. So, you know, we talk about this a lot, and one center director who was talking to us said, you know, I hate the phrase the new normal because we don't want to think about this being normal. And I think we can all agree that that is true. The reality is that parents need and desire information like never before. So in terms of when you get families to enroll and when you have children in your care, it's more important than ever to really engage and connect with those parents. So I'll walk through how you can do that. The other thing is, you know, positioning your center so that you're as financially successful as you can be. So I'll talk through some tools that you can use there. Safety and security, really hot topics now and you know, even before the current situation. So I'll talk a little bit about what you can do there. And then finally, how you can track and measure and things that you should think about there. So let's go to the first one. So I don't think these stats are going to surprise anybody, especially if you're a child care center owner, operator, director. But most of the parents of the kids in your care are millennials, and the children in your care are the kids of you know, have parents who are millennials, and they're accustomed to documenting every minute, every hour, everything about that child. I know a couple of years ago when I started seeing posts that were like, hey, we're pregnant, and like full on like, okay, there's the picture. And so from before a child's even born, people are starting to document what's happening with that child. And so no surprise, parents want to understand what's going on with their children during the 7, 8, 9 hours that they're in your care. So using a parent engagement app is more important than ever. The other thing that it can do is not only share videos and photos, etc., of like, hey, here's what happened in our day, but you can also track milestones. So you can say, hey, you know, Matt did really well today, and he's on track for learning his numbers, and he's, you know, his playing with blocks is, you know, right where he's supposed to be, etc. And the other really good thing is when you're engaging with parents like this, you're helping parents to reinforce whatever you're teaching in the classroom at home, so you can reinforce that curriculum. So really important, and more important than ever before, to have a parent engagement app. The other thing is you don't want to spend your time chasing folks for payment or following up on tuition, etc. So I found these stats really, really interesting. Is 80% of millennials, who are most of your target audience, are used to using the internet for managing finances. The stat that really stuck out to me is 52% never write checks. So you can imagine if they're walking into your center and you're saying, hey, here's how you pay, and it's by check, they're like, what? So setting it up in an automated fashion from day one, we have something called Tuition Express that lets you automate the entire process and let parents pay when it's convenient for them. I don't mean like 3 months away when it's convenient. I mean like in the evening, in the afternoon, etc. Because we all know pickup and drop off are not the time to try to have some sort of payment conversation. It's usually pretty tough. And the other thing is now more than ever, people want a touchless option, and automating payment through ACH or a credit card is a great way to do that. Here's a quote from one of our customers that was about Tuition Express, which is our solution to automate that. And she said, I'm no longer posting payments. I'm not writing out deposits. I'm not driving to the bank. I'm not chasing parents for payments. And that gives me extra time for other responsibilities, such as nurturing the kids in her care. And she also loves that receipts are automatically emailed to the parents. So it sort of automates that whole process so that you can spend time doing something else. So safety and security, and no surprise, temperature checks have become reality, and healthcare questionnaires. So also, in addition to defining authorized pickups and drop-off folks that can pick up children, folks are also looking for integrated hardware so that they can limit foot traffic in their facility and have people have to, use a fingerprint or something like that. But if you want to go completely contactless, which we're hearing more and more, then you want to use something like either QR codes, where you can just scan your phone and seamlessly check in the child, or you can use something like curbside GPS, where as you get close, you can actually, you can let the center know that you're approaching, and a center staff can come out, get your child directly out of the car, and further limit traffic in your center. And I think along with a lot of the health protocols that are being put in place right now, limiting foot traffic is another really key way that you can make sure that you're keeping the kids in your care really safe. So then, in addition to improving safety and security, someone once said to me that you can't manage what you don't measure, or you can't manage what you don't track. So really important to track and report on metrics that matter to your business. So what's going in, what's coming in, what's going out, getting an overall financial picture of the health of your business at any time is really important. And you don't need to do that manually. You can use software to do that and run reports and let you know, like, here's where I stand at any given point in time, versus you having to manually do that. And Procare does offer the ability to get a really good look at where you stand at any point in time. So we've talked a lot about using technology. It's also important to evaluate technology sort of at every stage of the I think of it as the customer journey. So Matt's done a really nice job of saying, like, before somebody enrolls in your center, here's all of the best steps that you should take and the best practices to automate that follow-up process. So no one has time to make 7 calls or send 7 emails. So the more you can automate that, the better. And then the other thing, and one of the things we're here to talk about, is making sure that you maximize the best of the best through integration. So if you have 2 pieces of software, you really want to make sure that those software stacks or software systems speak to each other and have a sync that goes back and forth and shares the data that's collected in one with the other. So I'm going to let Matt talk a little bit more about why we're here today and our integration. So Matt, I'll pass it back to you.
Yes, awesome, thank you. And shocker, shameless plug here, right? Better Together, talking about ChildcareCRM and Procare, and we're super excited last week to announce, an enhanced integration and some new life to a partnership that's been around for a while, but we're really kicking it up a notch. And combined 40 years of experience in the childcare space as software solutions, talking about a couple of the powerhouses really coming together, right? And so, like we said earlier, CRM. About 4,000 centers on our platform across 5 different countries, right? And Procare in business for 30 years and 30,000 centers on theirs, right? So it's really is combining two of the best of breed solutions in the space. And even more importantly, as it pertains to our talk today, and really what is all on our brains right now for second half of the year, is how to generate more enrollments and that recovery process to have a killer second half of 2020. And our two systems, as is, even without the enhancements and partnership going forward, we typically facilitate around 50,000 new enrollments or new registrations per year, right, between the two platforms. And we think it's coming together at the perfect time where the industry needs an integrated enrollment platform that says, hey, you can basically go from parent inquiry all the way through to super happy long-term customer with, two platforms, right? And you can block out the rest of the noise and have two seamless platforms working together that have a lot of experience and history in the space. So we didn't want you to just take it only from us. We thought, hey, why don't we get a mutual customer on? There's many of them out there, and get one on to talk a little bit about her experience with ChildcareCRM and Procare together. So drum roll, please, while I introduce GINA EMCH from Valley Child Care and Learning Center. Now, GINA's, I'm going to let her give us a little bit of background. I don't think I could ever give as good an intro as Francie did for us, so I'm sorry about that, GINA. But I am going to ask you, you're in the state of Arizona, and I spent a lot of time in Arizona myself, and in Arizona, you're either an ASU Sun Devil or you're a U of A Wildcat, and I'm going to give you one chance to answer this correctly before we move on. Which one are you?
Well, I'm not that into sporting, but my son is, and he would definitely say ASU. So,
oh,
I don't know,
man.
was that the wrong answer?
That was completely wrong, and I'm going to let you go on with the presentation, but you might see a change to your billing from CRM next month going forward. No, I'm kidding. No, good stuff. So welcome, GINA. Welcome, GINA, to the show today, and we're excited to hear about your experience with CRM and Procare together.
Thank you, Matt. Hello, everyone. James's family has been my husband James and his family have been in the child care business for over 50 years here in the Valley. And it's come through the third generation now, and it's just been a wonderful experience to do this as a family. And I saw that Matt, said that there's 4,000 centers on CRM. We are customer number 16. So we were early adopters. We have loved it. Your tech support is stellar as far as how we've been able to come through all of the different changes that the program has had. So now to have both Procare and CRM working together is fabulous. We're super excited. I've gotten to pilot it, and I can say it's really a game changer. We at Valley Child Care have an enrollment specialist whose name is Debbie. She calls each lead after they come into the system to welcome them in for a tour. Our tours are walk-in unless they would like to schedule one, so we give them the option. And then we also, through CRM and their business rules, we have a series of emails and texts and follow-ups from the directors that go out on different time frames. And it's just awesome that is automated. Then the reporting feature of CRM is very helpful too, because each week Debbie will run a conversion success report to see how many tours have converted to enrollment. Each report will compare this year's conversion rate from January 1 to the present date, and also compare it to last year's conversion rate from January 1, 2019 to the present day, to this date in 2019. And we really try to keep our conversion rate above 60%. As soon as we see it drop below that, this report is so helpful to say, okay, who's doing the most tours? Do we need some more training around that? So that's very helpful to have those reports. And that is all I have on that slide.
Okay.
And then we do use the child care forms, which is the online enrollment packet, and we absolutely love it. I was part of the team that before we had child care forms, we would print 3,000 enrollment packets every new school year, and we'd walk around our conference room table at the office and pack those up and deliver them to each school. This is amazing, and the parents love it because it's so much easier for them to access whenever they want to fill it out instead of having to come and pick it up. So it's been wonderful. Right now, we don't have a parent engagement software, so CRM is our main way of communication to our enrolled families. The two-way texting was an amazing upgrade because now, even through the COVID experience, we've been able to really constantly communicate with our parents, and they love it. And then they can text us back whether, okay, I'm not going back to work yet. I will let you know when I am, or questions about what our policies are. It's just been a great way to be able to stay in touch. But the thing that we would do before to have our statuses in CRM match the statuses in Procare is Debbie would take the enrollment report from Procare each day, compare it to CRM. If they withdrew in Procare, she would make sure they were withdrawn in CRM so that my communications that I was sending out were consistent. It looked like we knew who was in our building, so to speak. So now that they are going to communicate both ways, and as soon as the change is made in Procare, it will be made in our CRM, is amazing. Debbie is so grateful because it's going to save her so much time each day. So that is an amazing update. One other report we use that has been great is an expected start date report that we can run for leads that have listed a start date of plus or minus 2 weeks. This is a shorter list, less overwhelming to send to the directors, and then they can contact each of those parents and say, are you still planning to start then? Or I noticed that your start date was a couple weeks ago. Is there any more information you need? Do you need to come in again? That report has been helpful, so they aren't trying to figure out who they should be calling. That's all I have that slide.
Awesome.
And then I think I already talked about like the communication through COVID-19. We have been able to do that with the two-way texting. We have also been spending a lot of time on the phone. It seems like a lot of parents really appreciate being able to talk about what's going on and just like on the phone to actually communicate with us. But both platforms give us all the information we need to be able to continue that contact. And then we don't really have a lot of business rules around withdrawn children because our business model is daily rates, and we have a lot of parents that enroll and then withdraw and come back. And for me, the withdrawn emails kind of got frustrating to some of the parents because it was like, well, I'm coming back the next time for instance, we have a lot of foster families. And so each time they would withdraw because they didn't have one placement, but then they'd come back. They just got tired of all of those emails. So we find that it's best to do more phone calls for our withdrawn children.
Yeah, that makes sense. Talk a little bit about, we were talking before the webinar started offline, talk a little bit about, just first half of the year and how you guys have navigated, the mass closures and trying to stay open and trying to stay, safe and taking the precautions and stuff. What's it been like in your area?
Sure. Well, at first, Arizona wasn't hit near as hard as places on the East Coast. And so we were able to definitely increase our cleaning procedures and still pretty much operate like normal. Of course, our attendance was down from so many parents being sent home to work. So they would keep the children home, but we didn't have a lot of real panic in the centers. Now, just last week, Arizona has required face masks, and it seems like that's definitely caused another wave of, I don't know if it's panic, but some fear and a lot more questions. So again, we just feel like we cannot over communicate through this time, and to have a platform that we can do that with has been so helpful. So now the parents have to wear masks in the school. It's up to the parents if they'd like their children to. Our teachers are, and all of our office staff. So it's definitely been a little different this week, and our numbers show it. There's some parents that have started staying home again that were returning to work.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a similar sentiment we hear talking to folks every day. Yeah, it's probably going to be a little bit bumpy for a while. It's not like it's just going to magically flip back to Michelle's point earlier. The normal, it's not normal, right? And it's just going to be a little up and down for a while, and you just got to try your best to navigate it. We did see a huge spike in the use of those communication tools. I'm sure, Michelle, you guys probably did too with the engagement tools that Procare has too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, we just launched an additional parent engagement tool integrated with Procare Select GINA, which is what you're using. So absolutely, we've seen a lot of both requests for that kind of tool and use of that kind of tool, because I think one of the stats I read is 69% from the Wall Street Journal of parents are really nervous about returning to childcare. And and I'm sure, Gina, you've seen the same thing. And so, and all of the data I've read, the best thing child care centers can do is communicate. What are you doing to keep the kids safe? What are the sanitation policies? It's more important than ever before. And Gina, hats off to you and all of your peers as well. We were talking to one of our customers a week or so ago, and she was saying, really, Michelle, nobody is more prepared to take the precautions we need to take than child care centers and schools, because it's what we do all day, every day. We're licensed, etc. So thank you for keeping the kids safe.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. We do enjoy what we do. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, thanks, Gina. So and you can probably vouch for these changes to the integration. I'm going to talk just a second about, but really the big for those of you who out there who use both CRM and Procare and use the legacy integration we've had, the big changes is now it's two-way, right? And what that means to you, I'll get to in a sec. But tactically, what happens is the data now flows back and forth between the systems where it used to be just one way. So Gina alluded to having, have to do a lot of manual work to make sure the system was updated in CRM and Procare and it matched, and running reports and trying to do kind of a fuzzy match thing. Now they synced and everything will be basically the same in both systems. And what it does really ultimately for a user of both platforms is helps you do advanced level marketing and automation, and using marketing drip campaigns based on a child or family status within Procare. Being able to queue different campaigns, or what they call marketing different paths for a customer journey based on the status they have, whether they're a lead or enrolled or withdrawn. Being able to use the advanced level reporting around conversion rates. Gina alluded to, one of the most important ones is being able to just have data to compare to previous time periods. Obviously, right now, if you're comparing any past period to the first half of 2020, I even struggle with this with our own business. It's kind of tough. The numbers are gonna look a little wonky because of what's been going on the first half of this year. But so crucial to have that as advanced level reporting to be able to say, okay, this is we're seeing a drop off, and how do we diagnose the issue there? Is it, to your point, a training thing? Is someone not doing the quality of tour or the amount of follow-up we need to be able to pinpoint where you can improve and make sure you stay on track? And it's everything is magnified right now because every one of those leads you get, or one of those families that withdraws, is a big impact to the bottom line, considering just the volatility that's out there right now.
Right. Very true.
So big benefits of the enhanced integration to those of you using CRM and Procare. If you are not using one or both solutions, we're excited. I told the marketing team, I said, do not reveal the special and blow it out today, Matt. We're going to let everyone know in the follow-up email tomorrow, but I will tease it a little bit. So we got together and said, look, this is the time where folks like GINA, we want to get this solution and this integrated enrollment platform out to the masses, because this is the time when everyone needs it most, right? And so what does that mean to our end customers? We want to make it super easy to sign up, no friction, right? And try and provide you a period of time where there's, minimal cost to no cost, and you can use this time to get set up and evaluate that tech stack like we talked about earlier. And I got, with just 2 tools, I can run my business from start to finish, right? We want to make that possible for you to get up and going so you're ready for enrollment season and to hopefully have a much better second half of the year for all of us than we've had to navigate in the first half. So there's some contact information for both CRM and Procare, but don't worry. Tomorrow, what we're going to do is send out a follow-up. It's going to have a recording of the webinar, so you can go back through and listen to how much better Michelle and GINA sound than I. And then you can also see the special between the 2 companies and all of our products. We're going to do something special for each of you, as our way to say thank you, as Michelle said, for working hard and keeping our children safe and really being on the front lines of everything going on this year, but then also hopefully set you up for success second half of the year. So that will be forthcoming next 24 hours. And we wanted to reserve some time. We've got some good time, 15 minutes or so, to take some questions. And it looks like I haven't been paying attention to the chat button, but it's been kind of blowing up. So I think we're going to have Brandon from Childcare CRM here hop on and feed us some questions so we can answer some stuff that may have come up during our chat.
All right, thanks, Matt. And yeah, great to be with you guys. I'll just preface this by saying we've had a number of questions come through. So, if we're not able to get to your question here in the allotted time, don't worry. A member of one of our teams will reach out to address those with you one-on-one. But certainly want to get to as many as we can. The first question that I have here, Michelle, is there an engagement app for members of Procare currently?
Is there an engagement path of members? Do you mean an engagement app?
Yes, engagement app.
I thought you were saying path, and I was like, yes, there is indeed. As I alluded to, we announced a second parent engagement app yesterday. So yes, there is, and you can either go to our website and request a demo, or you can call the line below, and we'll get you connected with an engagement app.
Yeah,
great.
We should probably clarify too the difference between. I know GINA was talking a lot about communication with CRM too. What CRM does from a communication standpoint, kind of like mass communication, and it's marketing and drip campaigns, and there's some two-way text and stuff. What you're going to see in an engagement app from Procare is a lot more rich, and it's a lot more, like Michelle was alluding to, like how is Matt doing today in the classroom, and he loved his peas, but he didn't like his carrots, and there's pictures and stuff like that. CRM doesn't necessarily do that type of stuff. That's what you would want to leverage a parent engagement app for.
Yeah, thanks for making that distinction. It is. I didn't know you didn't like peas, Matt. So it is to let folks know, like, hey, so and so had a good nap today. Here's a photo of them playing in the sandbox, etc.
Yeah, let's be honest. In quarantine, I like everything. I'm eating everything.
Right.
Yeah, putting in my quarantine 15 is what I've called it.
All right. Next question that we have is from Matt. Can Childcare CRM be used for staying in touch with staff members and onboarding?
Yes. So we actually have a lot of folks who use our platform for the staff side of their business. And so we've actually been working on some enhancements to the system to make it even easier, so that if you want to use our platform to engage with prospective staff, and then once they come on and you onboard them, use our forms product for new hire onboarding and paperwork, and then also communicate with them long-term on the staff side. Really, if you think about it, the mechanics of our platform are the same, whether it's generating enrollment or getting staff into your center. So look, part of our mission statement, the first line is we power the childcare industry, and we do believe that we have a hand in helping centers say, hey, there's two things you need. You need enrollment, you need children in the center, and then you need staff to teach them, right? And so there are quite a few folks who actually use our system on the staff side as well. And so that you'll see some big enhancements we're going to announce second half of the year around that part of our platform and how you can leverage it with staff similar to the way you do with enrolling children. So we're excited about that.
All right, our next question for you, Michelle, is what is the difference between Kid Reports and Procare Connect?
Okay, so Kid Reports was an acquisition that we made a couple of years ago and is a parent engagement app. We also took some of the best out of Procare Connect, which was Kinderline, and took the parent engagement piece and integrated that into what is Procare Select. Procare Select, for those of you who don't know, is the traditional Procare that probably most of you are using in the integration with ChildcareCRM. So just as of yesterday, we announced that it is called Procare Engage, and that is integrated with Procare Select, and it is indeed an app-based solution. So on your phone, on an iPad, etc. And through that, you can do things like check-in using QR codes and GPS curbside. You can get milestones, all of those things I talked about, and the importance of a parent engagement app. So now you have two choices, really, if you want to use either Kid Reports or what is called Procare Engage.
All right, Matt, next question for you. Can we cycle withdrawn people who left back into ChildcareCRM for marketing messages?
Yes, and if you aren't, you need to. That's been one of our messages to customers. You know, when this thing really first started to hit, you know, end of February, beginning of March, took us a while to all get our arms around it, and we kind of hunkered down. And coming out of it, we said, look, you need to start thinking about those families who have withdrawn, or those who have not said they're explicitly coming back, and not be naive, like I said earlier, and think they're just gonna. Because look, we're human beings, and we all use this time to evaluate, you know, things in our lives and our, you know, where we go to eat, where we go to work, where we drop our kids off for care. And so what you can do is take those withdrawn status records and put them in specific campaigns in CRM, because obviously you're messaging to folks who have been at your center before and withdrawn, or are there but in kind of a hold status and haven't explicitly said they're coming back. Your message is going to be different to them than it would be to a net new prospect or lead that's coming to your website, right? And so that's the beauty of a tool like a CRM, is that you can instantly customize the message to fit that status or that situation, and set up a whole chain of drip campaigns and marketing automation to engage them, and be super proactive about communication now. Because look, frankly, once it starts to open up some more, like we all, knock on wood, hope that it's going to happen, second half of the year, it's going to be a land grab for parents out there, and everyone needs to fill back up, and everyone, it's the folks who get out ahead of it and are super aggressive, you know, ultimately are the ones who are going to fill back up the fastest.
And for you, Michelle, does Procare Connect now connect in real time to Select for things like attendance?
There's a one-way integration right now for Procare Select and Procare Engage, and there's an upcoming two-way integration.
Matt, is there a fee for the new integration between ChildcareCRM and Procare?
There is not. No fee, and we're excited about it, right? So if you are a current customer and want the two-way turned on, there's going to be instructions for you in our follow-up tomorrow in order to do that. I'm sure many of you will just reach out to your account rep that you talk to pretty regularly at CRM. That's fine too. But there's going to be additional information if you're a current customer and would like to turn on the two-way integration in that email tomorrow, as well as anyone, like we said, who's new to the partnership and wants to get going. There won't be any additional fees for the integration for new folks either. So it's the least we could do. Now, we honestly, it's one of those things we just want on, right? Because it is, you heard from GINA, it makes your life so much easier.
So much easier.
We want to be aggressive about getting everybody on it because it's going to be key to lightening your load going forward for sure.
Mm-hmm. And GINA being customer 16, did you say?
16, yes.
Awesome.
Very impressive. So you've been doing a lot of best practices for a really long time. Because when you were talking about, making sure that enrollment and the conversion rate, et cetera, I'm super impressed with how locked down you have it from end to end.
Thank you. No, it's been a work in progress, but we've had so much help too with the support team there at CRM to help us with it and call me and go through my business rules once a year or so and make sure that things are set up correctly. So that's been very helpful.
And Brendan, do you want to do one more and then we'll wrap it?
Yep, we got time for one more here. We have enjoyed both Procare and ChildcareCRM for years. Will this integration look different from what we have? And I'll pose that to whoever wants to answer that one.
Well, it doesn't look different. It just feeds, both systems feed each other. So it doesn't, it's not like the UI will look different. It's just that there's a sync between both systems. Matt, do you want to add anything?
Yep, that's completely correct. And there was that a couple slides ago, there was a little snippet of what it looks like in CRM and what it looks like in Procare. It's not going to materially change the user experience or anything like that. Yeah, it's just that the data now is going to sync. Once you update records, it will sync two-way now instead of one-way, which is the big key. So yeah, you won't have to relearn or learn anything new. For sure, it'll be great. But as we go through the conversion process, when that's something you want to turn on, our folks on the CRM side can help walk you through it. And we've got a slick little one-pager with screenshots that explains what it means and how it gets activated and all that kind of stuff. So we won't leave you out to dry there for sure. Is there anything, Michelle? Any thoughts as we wrap up?
No, I think we've covered everything. And thank you especially to GINA for walking through your experience and best practices. It's super, super helpful. And, I'm just looking forward to our continued partnership, Matt.
Yep, same here. And thank you to all of you out there that are fighting the good fight every day. And I know it's been a tough first half of the year, but hopefully that folks at ChildCare CRM and at Procare, we're working hard to try and put solutions out there that'll make your life easier going forward. And kudos to all of you for navigating the first half of the year. And we're your partner in trying to make it a great second half too. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.